You ready?
No, I don't know what we're talking about.
Marriage. We're going to talk about our anniversary, 21 years of marriage. We're going to talk about some things that have really helped us through the years, some tips and tricks for a happy, healthy, hilarious marriage.
I'm not ready, but go. I'll follow you. Go.
Here we go. Welcome back to the On Second Thought podcast. I really don't know how to introduce you today, since last time I got in trouble for using your last name.
Seriously, trouble?
So,
like, that's not even trouble.
That's, well, I don't know. As
might
much
be
trouble
for
as I
you.
normally get in, right?
It's like, that might be for you.
I'm here with my wife. You can say your own name.
No, I'm good. Stephanie.
I'm here with my wife, who chooses not to disclose her name. My name is Jim Perdue.
I never cared if you called me Stephanie. It's that you said, this is my wife, Stephanie Perdue.
Yes.
It's like, what would be my other name?
I don't know. Okay.
Okay,
well,
moving on.
Here with
That's
my
an
wife,
old joke.
Here with my wife, Stephanie, and we are grateful that you have joined us. We're really encouraged by folks that are listening. We talk to people every single Sunday, Wednesday, and throughout the week who have told us that they've been listening to this podcast. And I even had somebody tell me recently that when their husband told them, "I love you," she said,
Okay.
"Okay."
Yes.
I
Several
thought I
people.
was the only one. And then other people who've talked about their face or, some traditions or things like that we've shared. It's really connecting. And one of the things...
It's really connecting that I don't always make up the bed.
Is that one of the things that
Yes.
that you don't always make the
That
bed?
makes us normal.
And does it? Mm-hmm. That's what makes us normal?
Yes.
Well, there's a lot of things that make us abnormal. So,
Yep.
not normal. That's okay. I would like to give a special shout out to our Second Family seniors, the senior adults at our church. They have been listening to this and they love it.
And they figured out the technology to find us.
They're listening in all the, on the website or on Apple or Google or Spotify or I don't know, wherever else we are. All the places, even Elon Musk, SpaceX, and everything else. We're everywhere. So it's been a blessing to be able to sit in this studio. It's not a closet. It's a studio. It's been a blessing to sit in this studio with you and talk about life and love and marriage and kids and family and all the things. And guess what?
What?
We have an anniversary coming up.
We do.
Yes. It's my favorite week of the year.
It
November
is.
23rd. And then Thanksgiving's kind of somewhere in there. November 29th. It's my birthday. It's like the best week ever.
Yes. It's your happy week.
It is. Thanksgiving is, hands down, no debate, the best holiday. So everyone agrees with that. You're giving me.
I'm the only person to disagree with you at this
You're
point.
giving me a look too. So.
Well, we established Christmas was my favorite.
Thanksgiving is the best though. I love it. And then
Random fact: we don't decorate in our house until at least November 30th because we have to wait till after your birthday.
Well, that's supposed to be the rule, but you
Oh
have
my
you have
goodness
broken the
gracious.
rules many times because I have been super gracious and said, okay, yeah, sure, you can do this ahead of time. Remember, we've done that before.
We have. Carry on. Carry on.
I just like to be able to celebrate Thanksgiving and then maybe my birthday, and then we'll do whatever you want to do within reason to decorate.
It's his favorite sentence.
To decorate for
Yes.
Christmas.
Carry on.
Let's do this. Our anniversary's coming up.
It is?
We will be married 21 years. And so, congratulations.
To you.
Yeah, to me. I mean, does
You
that
hung
mean...
out. You hung around for those 2 extra weeks so we could get married. You didn't throw in the towel.
Yeah, so 21 years. And I thought we could probably share some, what I would say are tips and tricks to a healthy marriage. That sounds really silly when you say it like that. Tips and tricks, but maybe some principles, some lessons we've learned, even some things that we kind of established or instituted in our marriage early on that have helped us. Because let's be honest, I mean, we're on this podcast right now, but we have a good marriage. We get along. We like each other.
We do.
There's not a whole lot of fussing and fighting, and as long as I do what you say, everything goes well,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
There's a great trick. That's a great tip for you. We really do have a great marriage. We get along. Somebody's like, if you could spend time with anyone in the world, anywhere, who would you want to spend time with?
We always like to hang out with each other.
Yeah, because we're cool.
Right? I don't know if we'd go that far.
Why'd you laugh at that? You were supposed to be like,
I don't think we're that cool.
We're so cool.
Carry on.
Well, you don't make the bed, so apparently that's
that
cool.
makes us normal.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't make us cool. All right, so how have we made it 20-ish years, 20 plus, 21? 21's a boring number.
21's a great number.
Carry on.
Yeah.
I've said that a lot today.
Yeah, 21's a great number. It's a great number. We have been married 21 years. So one of the things I think that is really important for marriages is communication. One of the things I say in premarital counseling or even marriage counseling is that communication is essential. And I don't think I have a lot of original sayings. You know, preachers like to grab things from different places and pretend like, ooh, I came up with this. I mean, I've literally seen preachers put things on Twitter that have been around for 200 years and then they put their name after it like they came up with it, you know. Like, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Jim Perdue, you know. I didn't really say that. But anyway, I think that this might be original to me. I tell couples, communication is the breath of your relationship. If you don't communicate, you suffocate. And either I heard that a long time ago and just don't know where, or I actually
Which is very possible.
It's possible. Or
you
I
came up with an ingenious
this, which may be
quote.
less possible.
No, I just know that you don't have the long-term memory.
I don't.
That's all I was saying.
I don't typically.
But I guess I should have prefaced that by saying
I have long-term memory amnesia. I don't know what that is. So let's talk about how we talk. Let's talk about how we communicate. Because early on, it was probably a little bit more rigid or scheduled. Like, we'll meet and we'll talk and we'll plan it. This now it's just become much more organic and natural, and it's going to grow over 20 plus years of marriage. But let's talk about those things that are important to maintaining healthy communication and relationship. And I think one thing is, if there is bitterness or unforgiveness, if there's ever tension or animosity, that's really going to shut down communication in the relationship. And I can remember early on, I used to be here. I used to kind of be a stuffer, right? If I have, things that bother me, I'll just stuff.
Used to be.
Used to be. Used to be. You would also do that a little bit early on if I thought that something was wrong with you. And if I thought I had done something wrong or you were upset. And so I used to be what I call a digger too. It's like, hey, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? Tell me what's wrong. What's wrong? And early on in our marriage, you kind of helped me with that because you were like, okay, stop it. No, you didn't really say it like that. Do you remember what you told me?
I told you that girls are emotional and can be irrational, and sometimes I need to process things to be sure that I'm not either one of those before we have the talk, or about, because a lot of times I'm trying to figure out, like, did he really hurt my feelings, or is it just a me issue? And so, and if it was worth the conversation, we have the conversation, but sometimes it's irrational thinking or emotionalism, It just
Here's the way I remember that conversation.
Oh.
I remember, hey, what's wrong? What's wrong? Asking, you were like, okay, listen.
I know
okay,
what
listen.
you're going to say now.
Well, you were like...
This is still true, though.
Okay, listen. So you were like, okay, sometimes I have to figure out if I'm just being a girl, right?
Yeah.
And so give me some space. And if this is something that's really legit a problem, you don't want me to talk to you right now about this. You would rather give me a little space and let me process, and I might not be quite as angry later.
My words won't be as cutting.
Is that kind of where you thought we were headed with it?
Yes, because I kept trying to say, if you really want to know right now, you're not going to like what comes out.
You're not going to want to hear what's in my head in this moment.
And I can never take back what I say. Right. So it would be best for both of us if you didn't make me say what's in my head, because sometimes your head can be a little more violent than you actually want your words
Is that
to
the
be.
way that works?
Well, I like to use the analogy with kids, like with toothpaste. Once you squirt all the toothpaste out, you can't put it back in, and our words can be the same.
Yeah.
Whereas, if I just spew it all, I can never take it back, whether I meant to say it or, it could have just been, a moment of irrational thinking. And why do I want to try and hurt the person who may or may not have even intentionally ever tried to hurt me? And that's why I always tell this to couples. I'm like, I truly believe that Jim does not wake up in the mornings and say, how can I hurt her feelings today?
Yeah.
How can I make her mad today? I said, that's not a goal of his. And I don't think it's the goal of the majority of husbands or wives, but it happens. And so we have to figure out, we're not trying to attack the person just because they hurt our feelings, because I don't think that's your goal initially. I mean, it happens. It's life. You're going to fight. You're going to hurt your feelings. But to learn and know your spouse and fight fair, I feel like that's a fighting fair kind of thing. You don't want me to say what's in my brain.
Well, I think sometimes maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what's in your brain. You've told me that for a long time. Don't try to figure out what's in my brain.
No.
So I do think you hit on a really important principle for healthy communication, and that is believe the best about your spouse. Here's what we like to do. We will almost always give ourselves the benefit of the doubt. Well, I said that, but I didn't mean it that way. Or I did that, but it wasn't intentional. So we'll almost always make excuses for ourselves while we hold others to this exacting standard. How dare you say that? How dare you do that? And that is really an unhealthy way to communicate or even to have a relationship, right? So one of the things I appreciate about you, you have a high wall of trust, right? Not a whole lot of people over that wall.
Extremely high.
You have told me, right? I trust you.
This is true.
Don't mess it up. And I'm like, is that really trust? If you have to tell me not to mess it up?
No, that's not. What I say is I trust you fully.
Uh-huh.
You are the only person on earth that I trust fully.
But then did you
Don't mess it up.
And I'm like, wait a second. Do you have to tell me not to mess it up? Anyway.
I just think you need to know the ramifications of messing it up.
I'm going to count that as a W. I'll take the win. Okay,
Yo, it's a win.
I'm going to count that as a win.
Yes.
So I think believing the best about someone, even when you hear something and you're thinking, how in the world did that process in their brain and come out their mouth? Yeah, okay, you really wanted to say something very different. I can remember a moment you gave me the benefit of the doubt, and I probably didn't deserve it, but we were working on something with technology, and you were trying to do it, and I was like, here, let me see it. And I was just trying to process in my brain what I was doing with the technology, but it came off very condescending. I think I started spelling something that was really simple to spell, And in the moment, if you had been like, oh my word, does he really think I don't know how to spell the word cat? Or, it was something like, Target or something simple to spell. And I started spelling it to you, and you were like, you just went right by it. Whereas that could have been a huge, explosive conversation in another context. And this is one of the things I think, too, I tell couples, if you have already established healthy communication, it's much easier to communicate in a healthy manner. If you have unhealthy communication and there already this bickering, this biting, cutting, sarcastic, insulting.
I am teaching you sarcasm, though.
It's like a foreign language. I'm working on it, though.
We're 21 years in, and he's finally learning.
I'm getting better. We've established this. I'm too nice, so I have to learn a little bit more sarcasm. But it is you are definitely at least bilingual. You can speak sarcasm.
Well, and we're not
you pass that along to the boys for sure.
Oh yes, I did. Maybe too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I agree. There's not and also couples like to compete,
right,
with one another in how can I hurt this person who hurt me, and
right.
Then communication is broken down because nobody wants to allow. I know how high my trust walls are now. I can't imagine if I didn't trust your intentions or your motives or what you were doing, when you were saying things to me, it would be very different.
Yeah, if you're already...
I could be a hard-hearted person. I mean, I would close up.
And if somebody's already in a place of hurt and a place of mistrust, it is much easier to accept things as hurtful and not trustworthy. If I'm already bitter or angry, or I'm still living in what you said yesterday or the day before or a year ago or whatever, I am not going to be in a position where I can receive anything you say, even if it's innocuous and neutral. A lot of times I'm going to receive that negatively. Hey, did you take out the trash? Well, what do you mean, did I take out the trash? Are you trying to say I don't do what I'm supposed to? That just plays out in so many marriages, in so many places. And I think that for us, starting with healthy communication is really one of the keys that God has blessed us with a great marriage. And I think that's been one of the things that early on, that healthy communication has helped added to the blessing.
Well, yeah, because, marriage. And just learning to talk also, because marriage goes through seasons, and we're just in we've only had a couple of seasons compared to people that have been married longer than us.
So is it like summer, fall, spring, or winter?
Well, right now it's just life season. Well, we're not in the
We're definitely in the teenage stage.
Yeah, we're not in the newlywed stage.
I still
learning
feel
all
like
that.
we're newlyweds.
Yes, but we have a lot more people living with us than we did then.
Ain't that the truth?
And we're not in the toddler stage, whereas exhaustion takes over. New baby life, exhaustion takes over. So communication looks different. It's like,
right.
You just look at your spouse like, help.
Or we finally got the kids to bed. Good night.
Good night. Or we finally got the kids to bed. You want to watch a movie?
Yeah.
I can't.
And that was date night sometimes.
Yes. And so I feel like there's seasons of learning to communicate in those seasons. So when our kids were smaller, we don't do this as much now, we would have monthly marriage meetings.
Right. This is one of the things I think when I'm doing premarital counseling, especially, I tell couples that most couples just live in their marriage. They never work on their marriage. They never take the time to kind of step back and say, how can we communicate better? How can I be a better husband? How can I be a better wife? So we would plan marriage meetings. And I can remember back in the olden days, before the iPhone calendars and things, you would have that flip calendar on the wall.
I would.
And you would put M3, monthly marriage meeting, in. We would sit out with the calendar and we'd plan that. And then we'd sit down and we'd talk about our lives, talk about goals, read scripture together, pray together. And then the questions that would come up, hey, how can I be a better husband? How can I be a better wife? And one of the things I tell couples is
also, this is not a unique idea to us. It's one we adopted from some other
people
couples.
People are just going to assume everything that we say is stolen from somewhere else.
Yes.
Except maybe that quote that I don't know if I stole.
Right.
This intimate encounters.
Yes.
And a lot of my premarital counseling is taken from Preparing for Marriage God's Way.
Yeah.
Fabulous stuff. So we would sit down and ask those questions. How can we make our marriage better? And I can remember early on some of the goals we had, helping a little neighbor boy across the street learn to read because he was struggling with that. Or early on when I was in my master's program and you were in your master's program and we were living in North Carolina and this small little, less than 1,000 square feet and, apartment, and that we wanted to save $250 a month. That was like I felt so accomplished when we were able to meet that goal. But I tell couples, when you ask these questions and you're really genuinely wanting to know the answer, hey, Stephanie, how can I be a better husband? How can I be a better dad? How can we have a better marriage? When you get the answers to those questions, it's not offensive. It doesn't put your defenses up where you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe she said that. It's you're really wanting to grow and get better. Now, if I'm just walking down the hallway one day at the house and you're like, oh, hey, let me tell you how to be a better husband. Immediately I'm like, your defenses are up, right?
Right.
Or, hey, we need to have a better marriage. Let me tell you how to do that. So
I am so sick and tired of blah, 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 blah.
Well, and that happens a lot.
Yeah.
We call them sniper hits, right? So just you're up there minding your own business and you don't know what's about to come. Sneak attack, and that happens so much because as well as I do, if there's bitterness that results from unmet, unrealized, or unexpressed expectations, that bitterness builds. And so it's building with one partner while the spouse has no idea. Like he's just sitting there watching a football game, or playing a video game, or running around outside doing something. And she's just, in her mind, I can't believe he's, and it's just building, or vice versa. You know,
Right.
She's out with the girls and he's doing this or that. And it's just building, or she's watching her favorite show. And there's not this healthy communication to say, hey, you mind helping me with this real quick? So early on, if you're healthy, hey, do you mind helping me with this real quick? Rather than, you're always, watching TV while I'm doing the dishes, or you never help me with this or that. And that's where unhealthy communication is a vicious cycle, a downward spiral. Because when you speak to one another in an unhealthy manner, it breeds more unhealthy communication, because it breeds hurt and bitterness and anger, and you can't shove the toothpaste back in the tube. And so then it's resting in someone's heart and mind that ultimately causes even more hurt and bitterness down the road.
Yes, I agree with all of that.
I'm glad you do. This is very healthy communication we're having.
We are. I know some things that like I said, seasons come, seasons go. But when we're, especially with ministry, seasons can be a roller coaster.
Uh-huh.
But you're always like, as long as we've got each other, we're good. We're good. We can take on the whole world.
I can remember early days of ministry, church planting, and even some days at Crosspoint where we were staring budget cuts in the face. The December, I got there in August, and we were looking at budget cuts by December and cutting salaries and letting people go. And I think I said to you, if I have Jesus in you, we can make it, right?
Yeah.
And that is really, really, really true. Like if everything else falls apart, of course now we got 5 kids too. So I mean, don't get me wrong. Like we want, we're not saying, we're just going to pick up and leave. And, I mean, of course we're a family of 7, but I think those are just some really fundamental, important things. And ministry is hard enough that if you have, I don't know how the people who have a hard marriage make it in hard ministry. Ministry's hard enough. You need somebody at your side. You need someone who has your back. You need someone that's your helpment.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's with any...
Life is hard enough.
Life is hard enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, there's a lot of people that have jobs that they need to be on the same team.
Yeah. 21 years later, marriage meetings look a little bit different, right?
They do.
We're not typically putting it on the calendar and sitting down and staring at each other across a table. Sometimes it's a dinner out. Sometimes it's a drive and we're talking. Sometimes it's like, hey, let's walk the dogs, and we'll go walk around the circle behind our house.
We have walked that circle many times.
Oh, man. We have walked so much. And that's time for us to communicate and talk. And so it looks a little bit different than, sitting down, going through a list of questions, or even the specific goals and things like that. But we communicate about everything. We communicate about
We probably
everything.
over-communicate.
Can you do that in a marriage, though? Now, I will say this. One of the things I think that helps, because I forget things, and I think this is important for everyone to know, like one of the things that I think helps us is you have access to all my digital communication.
That leads us to one of our future podcasts.
Yes. Boundaries, protections,
yes.
opposite sex, all those things. But I think that's important too, is that like sometimes you'll be like, hey, I saw this text. I say, oh, I forgot to tell you about that.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah. So we'll have a conversation.
Yep.
And so I'm thankful you have access to that, because otherwise I'd forget to tell you about a lot of things.
Yes. We'll explain why I have access to.
Oh.
Well, I mean,
thought you were
nothing
going to
bad.
explain why I was so forgetful. I'd love to know the answer.
This is why I said that earlier about the quote. All right, so let's see if you can remember some things from our wedding.
Oh.
Do you want to see?
I want.
How long did we date before we got engaged?
We dated 6 months. We were engaged for another 6 months.
What day did you have to propose by?
I had to propose to you by May 15th.
And when did you propose?
May 11th.
Yes.
I gave you 4 whole days
Of stress.
You were freaking out.
Oh, yeah.
You were like, I have to sign this contract.
Well, I'd already signed the contract, and I couldn't get out of it without spending $500.
To stay in Georgia.
So I kept going,
I have to sign. I can't
but
get out of the
then
contract.
I finally decided that you were going to ask me, and I signed up for my master's program, and I started my master's program.
I thought I did great, but later on, I was like, oh my gosh. She was like, when is this idiot going to ask me to marry him? Oh my word. But I was all the way in North Carolina, and I had to come back and get a ring, and I'll do all the things, and we had it. It was wonderful. It was great.
So what was the worst thing that happened on our wedding day?
It was wonderful. It was great.
No.
Oh.
What was the worst thing that happened? One thing.
The worst thing that
Do you
happened
remember?
On our wedding day?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
You just forgot this recently.
Oh my gosh. Oh. So we forgot. So we were going to Cancun. Yeah. And we forgot our marriage license.
Yes,
and we thought
wasn't signed.
It wasn't signed, and we thought we had to have it to go.
Yes.
And so, like, we get to the hotel in Atlanta, and we're scrambling, trying to, back in those days, to fax. Like, you couldn't take a picture and send it, trying to fax. Okay.
Yes.
Whew. I'm glad that's the answer you were looking for. I was like, what's the worst thing that happened? I have
You're
no
like,
idea.
I don't even remember. What was the one surprise from our wedding?
Oh, so I'm sitting there doing my... I'm a little bit of a sensitive soul anyway, right? But I held it together really well at our wedding. Have you seen the meme of the guy that gets turned around and he just falls apart when he sees his bride? Have you seen that guy? And I thought I would be that guy. But I was not nervous at all on our wedding day. It was just incredible. And so it comes to the time where you're supposed to walk down the aisle, and I'm waiting on the doors to open, and they don't open. And all of a sudden, I hear your voice.
Yes, the voice.
You recorded a cassette tape. You recorded a message to me as I'm standing there in front of everyone who's waiting for the bride to walk in. And
yes.
And I'm just like, the only thing I'm thinking, I'm listening to you, don't get me wrong, but I'm thinking, boy, you better hold it together. And I did. I held it together.
You did.
I'm not saying that I'll hold it together when our kids get married. I'm not. But in that moment, I held it together. Yep.
You did. All right. Well, I think that's all of my wedding questions that I have for you. Yes.
Do you remember?
Oh, gosh. I'm actually starting to forget things, too.
It was November 23rd, 2002. Mm-hmm. And it had been very cold. Mm-hmm. And then that day, it was like 60 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. It was like the most beautiful day.
It was still a little chilly, though. I had on a dress.
Oh, it felt great to me.
I know. I remember being a little chilly taking those pictures out by the church.
I thought it was awesome.
Yes. Well, I think...
Those are your rapid fire questions for the day?
Well, I did have one when we were talking about, like, some things will change in your marriage, some things won't change, and laugh at the things that you can laugh at.
Are you talking about me losing my hair?
No.
Oh, okay.
Gosh, no. I was just thinking, like, who's the clean one out of the two of us?
Oh my gosh, me. I am the clean one.
Has that ever changed?
I don't know.
No,
I don't think so.
And I'm the more messy one, right?
Yeah.
I've always been more messy.
You blame it on the kids a lot. Like your car gets really nasty, and you're like, it's the kids' fault.
That is the kids' fault. I'm going to have every mom comment on this podcast.
I can remember this white Honda that you used to drive that used to be really super messy, and I can remember, like, at that time we didn't have any kids.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. I think there's some rapid fire questions for both of us.
Ooh, Mark said go.
Dun dun dun.
Do aliens exist, and what is that Area 51?
Oh, you want to answer this one?
I don't know. That's not things that I worry about. I don't think aliens exist.
I don't think aliens... If aliens exist, they think we're really stupid, okay? I don't think aliens exist, and I have no idea what's at Area 51. Probably some crazy military stuff.
Yeah. We probably don't want to know.
No.
If you could go back in time, where and when would you go?
I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed our Israel trip, but I don't know
That was great.
Yeah.
Israel trip was awesome.
I mean, do I have to live there very long?
No, you just go and like visit. Like, would you want to go visit?
I would go back to when my kids were little.
I'd go back to November 23rd, 2002. 21 years ago. Our wedding day.
Yeah.
You go back to when the kids were little?
Yeah, I just would like to
visit there, but not stay.
That's why I prefaced that whole thing with, do I have to stay there?
Stay there. That's
because
great.
I would like to go back when knowing now. And go back. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's why they say you have grandkids, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Last one. If there is a zombie apocalypse, who are the 3 people you want on your team?
I would like to know who sent these questions in. Zombie apocalypse. A podcast about ministry and marriage and life and parenting.
We get zombies and aliens.
I want you on my team. Number one, because you don't trust anybody, so everybody would be a zombie.
Yes.
Okay. I want you on my team. Who else?
Oh, I wish I'd have been prepped on this. I'd have had his name. I just want the guy that led the zombie apocalypse in Walking Dead. That's who I want.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna take you and him.
Okay.
Because
what about
not a third person?
There's a World War Z?
I thought that's 3 total. Is it another
total
person?
Yeah, you need
more?
one more person on your team.
Oh, I'm gonna take Daryl from Walking Dead then.
Oh,
it's gonna be you, me, and those 2.
Okay, I've never seen Walking Dead, but I'll hang out with y'all.
I just heard they're
I'll hang out with y'all.
I mean, on TV they've made it.
Okay.
I'm assuming all the things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zombie apocalypse.
If we got to talk about zombies, that's the only zombie show where people lived.
All right. I guess that's it for today. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, babe.
I'm glad to be here.
You're cute.
Thanks.
Yeah.